Welcome to our 10th Christmas special of the Filmmaker Film Watcher podcast. I'm filmmaker Richard DiGregorio.
And I'm terribly, terribly old film watcher Greg Ralph. 10 years. I know.
It's just insane.
Now, before we start talking about this year's Christmas films, like we normally do, do 3 Christmas films this time of year, but I also, traditionally, since year one, bring something Christmassy to the party to sort of build into it.
I always get nervous because I don't know what you're going to do.
Remember last year?
Yeah. Oh, yes, I do remember last year.
The spider in a box?
Yes, I do. Yeah, it scared me.
Well, I'm going to be kinder this year.
Yeah, thank you.
I've actually got 2 things before we get into the film, so just bear with us, folks.
Yeah.
The first one is that in the past, I've used, I think, Jingle Bells and Ho 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 Santa to tell you when you're on or off track in your opinions on Christmas films.
Yes. Yep. But it's always your opinion that I'm off track.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I thought we'd just bounce it out a bit.
Yeah.
So I brought something which is kind of Christmassy, kind of New Year's Eve.
Okay.
And do you want red or green?
I'll get red. That's a red pill.
You can have red.
Matrix.
I brought the. I've got green, not blue.
Yeah.
And I brought these little like Christmas, party whistle things, ones that roll out and roll back in.
Yes, I could see that.
So give it a go. Oh, that sounded better when I used it. I might have left a bit too much spit in there, but anyway. Here's mine. So if one of us says something I thinks is really, really good, we can use these.
Okay, something's really good.
Yeah, that you really agree with. Or think it's a profound insight or something.
So I'm not going to do it that much.
Well, I was going to say, you'd be lucky to get one out of me. Now, that's the first thing. The second thing is, I was thinking, now what's really Christmassy? And I think it was back in year one, I brought a Christmas cracker. Do you remember?
Yeah, yes, I do.
And it was a dud.
That was year one. My goodness me.
And year 2, I brought it back again because it was such a dud in year 1. Remember?
Yes.
I thought this year we'll do virtual Christmas crackers.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
And I looked everywhere for a sound effect for Christmas crackers, and they're all really crap. So I'm just going to clap instead, and the theatre of the mind.
Yeah.
And what do you find inside a Christmas cracker?
Usually a speech or a quote of some sort.
Wow, where do you get your Christmas crackers from?
Yeah, it's like a quote.
The Socrates shop.
A joke. A joke.
So
I mixed the Chinese cracker.
I know.
A fortune cookie Christmas cracker.
You just think you're better than the rest of us, I know. So what I thought I'd do is I would forget all the rest, but I would bring a joke.
Okay, sure.
And I need to thank someone here. So there's a Facebook group I hang out on sometimes called History for the Witty 2.0.
Nice.
And someone called Jerry Quinn put a question up saying, can you make a non-Christmas film Christmassy?
Oh, okay.
So I grabbed the best 70 or so of those. I'm actually not joking. But I'll break them up across the episode and give you like a 10 or so each time, okay? And you can enjoy what people have done with their creativity for this Christmas film. So, how Christmassy do these films sound?
Okay.
Apocalypse Snow. Or Apocalypse Noel. Bob and Caroline and Ted and Alice.
What's that meant to be?
Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice. Where were you in the 70s?
I haven't heard of that at all.
All right, how about this one? Breakfast at Epiphany's.
Oh, that's okay.
Butch Cassidy and the Santa's Kids.
Yeah, good, okay.
Cat on a Hot Tinsel Roof.
Yeah, great.
Citizen Candy Cane.
Nice. Of course, that's good.
I like this one. Dances with Elves. North by North Pole. The Sleigh We Were.
Yeah, okay. There we go.
10 Things I Hate About Yule. Or He's Just Not Into Yule.
Okay.
When Harry Met Santa.
Nice one.
And for now, at least, The Turn of the Scrooge.
Good.
Now,
good.
I totally got the sound effect. Oh,
that's right. Now we're going to hold the Christmas cracker, and then we'll.
Oh, okay. You ready to hold it?
Ready to go? I'm holding it. And we're good. And there you go. Nice.
That's as good as anything I found on YouTube.
That's right.
Okay. So, having done that wonderful intro, and by the way, thanks to that group for inspiring those, which I mean, I just basically pinched them.
Yeah.
But let's talk about what we're doing.
That's right. So the first film we're going to discuss is The Last Train to Christmas from 2021.
Yes. And then secondly, we're going to do a new film that's just come out here in Australia, which is inspired by a fairly endeared Australian song from a few years ago called How to Make Gravy.
And then finally, we are going to discuss the 2021, again, film A Boy Called Christmas.
Now, we should say we set out this time to choose Christmas films only from the last 10 years because this is our 10th Christmas episode. In fact, we've got them from the last 3, but, you know, we tried.
We did. So, Greg, do you want to take us away with The Last Train to Christmas?
Well, I saw this 2021 Christmas movie a year or two ago and recommended it to Ricardo. I think it's the only film either of us has seen in this episode. In some ways, it's a classic time-travelling Christmas tale of redemption, a la Scrooge, but with a bit of a twist, not an Oliver Twist. In this case, the lead character, Tony Towers, played by Michael Sheen, has choice in going forward or backward in time, allowing him to make changes in the past and then discover their future effects. It takes him a while to work out what's going on because, spoiler alert, he jumps a decade when he changes carriages forward or back on the Christmas Eve train from London to his parents' home in Nottingham. At first, the clues are subtle for him, and for us, as he time shifts. Tony's clothing, the different carriages' decor, or the technology used by other passengers. And some of Tony's costume changes are genuinely comic. His slow discovery of what's going on is also our own voyage, and I'm really sorry for revealing it here, but it's kind of hard to discuss this film without revealing that much. What I won't reveal is what Tony determines is important for him to achieve as redemption through the gift of time travel. I will say that he evolves from his starting declaration that he doesn't like travelling backward. The film is a wonderful actor's showcase for Sheen and Kerry Elwes of Princess Bride fame as Tony's brother Roger. Elwes really displays his acting chops, taking Roger through some really dark times. They're joined by such stalwarts as Hayley Mills from our last episode in Pollyanna, but a few decades ago, Phyllis Logan, who you might know as the housekeeper from Downton Abbey, Catherine Kelly, Robin Asquith, and Anna Lundberg, Michael Sheen's real-life partner, who plays herself in his lockdown TV series, Staged. And I don't know if you realise this, Ricardo, but appearing as Tony's fiancée Sue is Nathalie Emmanuel, who has recently achieved a higher profile as the female lead, Julia Cicero, in Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis.
Ah, okay.
Which you and I have both seen.
That's where I knew her from. I was just, while watching it, I was thinking, where did I know her from? Yes, yeah.
I had to look it up.
Yeah.
Anyway, this movie has genuine Christmas heart, capital C, capital H, with a great sense of style and fun. I enjoyed it even more the second time around, as I knew what was going on, and so I could spot subtler clues as the story gathered pace. It takes the leaf out of Wes Anderson's 2014 The Grand Budapest Hotel by squaring the screen frame to begin the narrative in 1985. And different eras have different visual looks, such as 1975's grainy TV look. The highlight for me is a beautiful 1945 sequence that absolutely nails the black and white look of that era's films, such as Brief Encounter, with the added benefit of the characters' use of the clipped British accents of that period. And this is then supplemented by a silent, reflective sequence that focuses on Tony's decisions and their outcome. The film is written and directed by Julian Kemp, who started out as a rather trained actor. I'm guessing that he trained with Michael Sheen as they were both born in the same year, and Sheen also appeared in Kemp's 2009 film, My Last 5 Girlfriends. Although that film feels less assured than Last Train to Christmas, I'm declaring myself a fan of Julian Kemp's sense of whimsy and visual playfulness, while dealing with more serious topics. Ricardo, did you catch The Last Train to Christmas?
What I loved about this film, I'll first tell you what I loved about it, is I loved every decade and the different looks that the directors and the filmmakers decided to go for. So the 80s is like video. Yeah, they do a 4:3 ratio, which is the square ratio. the cinematography, they've really worked hard at that, and especially when they get to the older sequences as well.
Yep.
You're right. They pop. They're really good, and it puts
really
you right
crisp,
in there.
though, black and white of the 1945 was just beautiful.
It is, but even between that and even the 80s one, which doesn't look great because it's an 80s sort of style, but still, it's hard to get that and to get that look, and they've done it right. But I didn't love it. I didn't love The Last Train to Christmas. I was actually found that I was a little bit bored by it. It felt long to me.
Give me that whistle back.
It just felt long to me. I love the performances. I mean, yes, everybody's very good in it. It just felt long. And I got all the Scrooge element, that it was very sort of Christmas carol-y, a different version of that, or going through the different decades, is trying to find redemption, trying to do it. But it just wasn't giving me the Christmas feels at all.
Oh, it did for me, particularly the second time around.
No, and I was getting disappointed because I love all the actors in this.
And what he chose as redemption for him, and the process of discerning that, for me, was one of the really good things about the film. Like, redemption, he starts out as a very materialistic character.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, try not to say too much. And he goes through change that you might predict in the story, but where he chooses to finally land, I thought was a bit unexpected.
I think
what he chose to give up.
Look, I found myself getting quite bored by the story and the journey. But in doing that, I was actually marveling at what the filmmakers were able to do in every decade. So I stopped actually concentrating on the story itself and what was going on, and I really started just marveling at, okay, I can't wait for them to go into the next carriage to see what they do with the film and to see what technically that they're doing. Because really, it's like two films to me. Like, I go, oh, the story didn't really grab me, but I love what they did technically on it. So every time they went through a new door, I thought, what shots are they going to do? What's the grey going to be? What are they going to actually do with this decade? Like, I started loving that more than the story, and I don't think that's the point.
No, it's not.
But the filmmaker in me was loving that aspect, but the journey, not so much.
The Kemp's earlier film, the 2009 My Last Five Girlfriends, he does that same kind of sense of playing with different sequences. So the main character is recalling, funnily enough, his last five girlfriends, one by one.
Yeah, right.
And each of them are presented as a different amusement park ride. And when it first happens in the film, because you're not primed for it, it's such a delightful kind of shock.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what the first one is. The first one is that he and the girlfriend who meet on an aeroplane, all of a sudden, the rest of the plane just kind of pulls away. The two of them are in their seats, and it becomes like one of those rides where you go through on seats and see panoramas around them.
Yep.
And it's showing her life and her history, all done with animated Barbie dolls.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's a really great sense of visual sensibility. And I think in that film, I might even agree with you a bit more, that in some ways the story falls back a bit against the visual telling.
Yes.
But I don't agree here, actually. This one, to me, it touches me.
It didn't touch me at all. The thing is, when it started, because I love the actors and I love everybody involved. I mean, I've seen them in the things before. I mean, I really love them. I was really looking forward to it, and I was in it from the beginning. I was like raring to go for it, but it just became tired, and I just wasn't following it, and I just didn't love the characters. I suddenly started not liking the characters, and then it just lost me.
Are you sure you didn't watch by mistake Last Bus Replacement to Christmas? That's a joke for our UK listeners in particular, which is where it's set. The other thing I liked about it too is it gave you the ending, and it made it pretty clear what the ending was, the outcome, but it also let you fill in the blanks a bit.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't didactic in that sense, over-explaining. And did you notice what I assume is a joke in the end credits?
No, I didn't.
I didn't first time around.
No.
But because I was going through now and preparing for this and thinking, okay, well, so who's in it? What did they do? And so on. Somewhere towards the end, it says Tony Towers will return in Yesterday is Forever, which is, a James Bond joke.
Right.
Again, it's just that I liked the fact that it was dealing with serious stuff, which is what defines a successful life.
Yes.
And
I got that.
Yeah, no, because it's Scrooge, as you say. And the way he sort of, the trial and error way in which he tries things and it doesn't, and he thinks, great, I've nailed it once he works out what's going on. And of course he hasn't. And one of the funny moments is, I think the first time he really thinks he's nailed it.
That's right.
And he walks backwards to his real time And instead of being dressed as the successful entrepreneur that he's trying to be, he's suddenly in the uniform of the catering vans.
That's right.
Thing,
Yeah, that's
and it's
right.
kind of like completely
Oh, no.
demolished.
Yeah, that's right.
So, but yeah, I like that mix of fun, whimsy, but this serious underlying thing about what defines redemption, what defines a successful life, and what part does self-sacrifice play in that. And he reaches actually a very mature outcome.
He does. I'm going to give a few kudos to the makeup department. I think they did a great job with the different characters which he played.
Except for when they went back and his mother was, relatively young on the train, and they ended up unwrapping one of the guitar gift.
Yeah.
Her wig actually on the edges.
So,
it was really obvious that it wasn't working.
I didn't notice that.
But look, in general, I agree.
Yeah.
And some of his hairstyles
were hilarious.
as he moved forward and back.
Yeah, they were hilarious.
And also his face at one point in the future, but looked like it had a whole lot of prosthetics making him look particularly puffy or something.
Puffy, that's
Again,
right, yes.
Very, very well done.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
And actually, I could see you in this film.
What?
I could see you playing Roger.
Really?
Yeah, I could.
Oh,
For those who
yeah.
don't know, Ricardo does occasionally claim to be an actor as well as a filmmaker.
Well, I have in the past trod the boards.
Oh, well, that's the problem then. This was the train.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's right.
Well, okay, so in your wisdom, what are you going to give it?
I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10.
Really?
Yeah, and that's really for the filmmaking aspect. I just love what they did, and technically on it. But I didn't feel. The purpose of this episode is you've got to be able to feel the Christmas spirit.
And
okay?
we've had some disasters, like
And we
who can
have.
forget Mon Oncle Antoine from a few years ago?
I know.
Yeah.
Look, but this didn't do it for. I just didn't. I was thinking, I want to feel the Christmas spirit. Nah, you know what? The opening titles, I think, had a bit of Christmassiness to it, and
When you're watching the train,
that's right,
toys and so on.
That was it. To me, that was it.
Okay, well,
and so and then I just didn't feel it. I thought, why is this a Christmas film?
Well, if you'll pardon the Christmas pun, we're obviously poles apart on this one.
Yeah.
I'm giving it an 8.
Wow.
And,
8.
and particularly on second time viewing. So maybe you just need to watch it 4 or 5 times and you'll be okay.
No, I don't think I'll watch this again.
I might actually. No, I enjoyed it. It gave it to me, and it gave the redemption story a la Scrooge, but not in a glib kind of way that often happens with those kind of stories where I've seen an error of my ways, I should be like this. It felt genuine to me. And I really I really respected and admired what they did with the Roger character, the brother, Cary Elwes,
yes,
and what he was showing, both when he was in the depths of despair and his life was completely off the rails, but also when he was successful.
Yeah, there was quite a journey there, and
no pun intended.
I didn't mind the discoveries that come out of that relationship from the opening to the end.
Yep.
Those discoveries were great, but I just found I was just tired, and it didn't get me at all. Really, it didn't get me here in the heart.
Yeah.
Which I think a Christmas film should.
Well, yeah, it did for me. Okay, now Ricardo, before you take us into our second movie, I've got some more Christmas cracker jokes.
Oh, yes,
Are you ready to pull?
Sure,
Ready?
and there you go. That's
sound like a cracker?
Christmas cracker.
It sounds like a bad clap. Let me try that again. Hang on.
Yeah. There you go.
That'll do. Okay, so here's some more. Making non-Christmas films Christmassy.
Okay, go for it.
The Candy Cane Mutiny.
Okay.
Claus Encounters of the Third Kind. Django Bells.
Nice one. I like that. Django Bells. Django Bells. Yep.
Fa La 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 Land.
I thought you were going to go fa la la la.
Oh, yeah, okay. Gorillas in the Mistletoe. Harry Potter and the Deathly Ho-Ho-Hos.
Oh, jeepers.
The Human Centipede.
Oh, my goodness.
Hunt for the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yes.
Murder on the Ornament Express. Night of the Living Gingerbread.
Nice.
Santa Elmo's Fire.
Okay.
And finally, but just for now,
Yes.
Star Trek, The Wreath of Khan. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Moving right along. I'm just trying to build some Christmas cheer into the
Yes.
fact you really didn't like that last film, but
Yeah.
I know you're going to love the next one. So why don't you tell us about Australia's 2024 brand new film, How to Make Gravy.
Directed by Nick Waterman in his feature film debut, How to Make Gravy is a poignant Australian drama inspired by the classic Paul Kelly song of the same name. The film delves into the complexities of family, love, and generational trauma, all set against the backdrop of Christmas, since, as the song says, it's the 21st of December. The story begins when Joe, Dan Henschel, a man who is struggling with his first Christmas without his mother, violently attacks his brother-in-law, Roger, Damon Herriman. In the altercation, he hits a policeman and ends up in jail for a short prison stint. He leaves behind his wife Rita, Agathe Roussel, their 2 daughters and their son Angus, Jono Wren Phillips, who adores his dad and just wants him home, thinking his dad is not bad, he just had a bad day. While away, Joe's musician brother Dan, Brenton Thwaites, attempts to play uncle to Joe's kids, and Joe feels the distance being in prison, especially at Christmas. He not only has to overcome his anger issues, he has to battle some bully inmates, making life very difficult for him on the inside. Enter Noel, Hugo Weaving, the Father Christmas figure of the inmates, who invites Joe to work in the kitchen to get away from the inmates causing him trouble. Here, Joe tells the story of his father and the special gravy he made for them every Christmas, and decides to make this for all the inmates for their Christmas meal. Now, I've loved how over the past 5 years or so, Australia has been producing quite a few Christmas films, like Christmas on the Farm, and also the fantastic A Sunburnt Christmas, which we reviewed a few years ago. How to Make Gravy is meant to be this year's uplifting Christmas film. However, I just found this quite dire and depressing for the most part. The iconic song from Paul Kelly, while yes, is about a man writing letters from prison, is also uplifting and hopeful in its pace and rhythm, the very thing this film lacked. The screenplay was too downbeat, with everyone having so many issues. I was wondering what it was trying to say. Was this meant to depict an average Aussie family Christmas where everyone has issues with each other? The prison scenes were also a bit confused, going from the harsh realities of prison life to montages to a prison choir singing like they've just come off Broadway. It was just very unbelievable. All the cast do their best in their roles, and look, nobody is bad in this film. Like, they're all very good. Hugo Weaving's performance of Noel gives weight to the film, but his 2 monologues are just a bit cheesy and a bit on the nose. In a 2-hour movie, it took 1 hour and 40 minutes for the film to find some light in the magic of gravy. And the end is nice, but for me, it just took too long to bring the Christmas feels. Greg, what did you think?
Wow, you really didn't like this film, did you?
No, look...
You didn't. I mean, let's be honest.
It just frustrated me. It was slow and just ponderous in slow tracking shots. The pacing was completely off. Compared to the song, which, like I said, has that rhythm. It didn't have rhythm.
Did you spot Paul Kelly?
Yes, in the bus.
Yeah,
I did.
Good. Well, in marked contrast...
What?
I hated it.
Really? Did you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, yes. If I hadn't had to finish it for this, I probably wouldn't have finished it, actually.
Well, that's the thing. In fact, I was watching it with my partner and my son as well, and we all were close to turning it off because it was just so dire.
I was genuinely moved at the end.
Yes.
I felt it. But on the back of feeling nothing and losing patience.
Yeah.
It really lost me by about halfway through.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And the problem here, you're right, it's not the acting. I hadn't actually thought of the Hugo Weaving character, Noel, as being the Father Christmas, and I'll think about that. But everyone acts well with what they're given.
Absolutely.
The problem here is, number 1, script.
Yep.
I'll come back to that. And number 2 is direction, because it is long, it is slow. I hadn't really focused on things like the shots, which is what you typically focus on more than I do.
Well, look, there's one in particular, which I'll just go on. Now, there's a priest character in this. Now,
yes.
And this is another thing which just, it was a very cliched version of a priest character, very sort of awkward and sort of jittery character. Now, I know I've known many priests in my life. I've never seen anybody like that. It's someone's version of a priest, young, awkward priest.
And the actor did it well for what he was given.
He was fine, but I still think he was directed in a way which I just thought was very unbelievable again. And there's a shot there's a scene where he's doing a mass for not many inmates that are in there, and it just pans, a lot of panning shots. It goes pans from the priest, and it slowly pans. Now, it didn't need to take the time. I mean, everything is timing and pacing, and it just took time when it just didn't need to take time in moments which didn't matter.
And in terms of direction, and I do want to come back to the script because I think that's the source of all the issues, but in terms of direction, most of the group scenes with inmates just didn't feel real.
No.
They either felt like some kind of actor workshop.
Yeah, I agree.
Which I was saying in our last episode about the David Mamet House of Games.
Yes.
In one scene. I felt a bit like that. And they didn't feel very well choreographed. Like the fight scenes and so on, they didn't nail it.
A big cardboard cutout. Hugo Weaving gives a speech in a outdoor area.
Yep.
And everybody's hanging on every word. I'm like, this is just so unbelievable. And I'm sorry, the choir, I ended up just looking at the screen. Oh, give me a break.
Well, I like the song, but
I'm not talking about the song. They're a fine song. The singers are wonderful. But it's a prison choir.
Do you know who wrote the song?
Who wrote the song?
Well, there were two writers for this. One was the director.
Yes.
And the other was the woman who played the prison guard Hines, who conducted the choir.
Oh, right.
And she also wrote that song, apparently, according to the credits.
The song is wonderful. It's
and
fine.
the song works really well in that final scene.
It's again playing with realism and fantastical, and I just don't think it gets there.
Well, I didn't even think of it as being fantastical.
The gravy is seen to be some sort of magical thing that makes everybody feel good at the end.
Yeah, but I wouldn't call it magical. I would just say...
it's a bit fantastical.
No, I think it just carries memories of past family Christmases.
Oh, but everybody tries the gravy. Everybody's, wonderful gravy.
Well, everybody? How many people were in the dining room?
Quite a few.
What, 40?
Yeah, but that's a lot.
How big is this prison? They're cooking for what I assume are all the inmates. There are 40 prisoners. There are maybe half a dozen guards that we could work out who didn't seem to be terribly good or caring about what they were doing. It wasn't a remand centre where that would make more sense because he'd been in there for a year. So things like that just didn't hold water. Yeah. But here's what I think is the core problem with this film. About three-quarters of the way through, it lost me halfway through-ish, but about three-quarters of the way through, I started thinking, you know what? The problem here is, first of all, the main characters, they don't come across as real people. I don't understand half the time what's really going on with them, like what's really going on with Stella and her husband,
That's right.
the sister, and, quite why their marriage was falling apart.
Well, there was that one scene in the prison when she goes to visit him, and they have a bit of a laugh, and you're like, oh, there's a bit of laughter light here, and then we're now taking a break where something's going on with our lives,
and then he turns up with flowers.
I guess it's just a bit,
and they have a bit of conversation in the hotel forecourt, and but most of the characters, I actually felt that we didn't engage them at all. Like Angus, the 10-year-old, really. I mean, the actor did a fine job, but I really didn't feel like we really understood him.
No.
Didn't really understand the wife. Didn't really understand the brother played by Brenton Thwaites.
No.
So that was the first problem. The second problem was there were a whole lot of characters in the story. It made no sense why they were there until they got to the end credits.
Yep.
And I had the subtitles on.
Yeah.
So they play the song How to Make Gravy, and I'm reading the lyrics and thinking, the two uncles who travelled down, check, who'd had nothing really to do in the story. This character, Dolly, check. There was a character in the song called Mary whose last boyfriend wore too much cologne. Mary fell off the wagon somewhere. Yeah. But all of the characters, all the main characters were there, I think, because they're in the song, but they didn't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
And even the main characters, I don't think they were terribly good at knowing what to do with them either.
Yeah.
And so the direction didn't help, but I think the core problem here is script. And I haven't read any reviews of this film here in Australia deliberately.
No.
But I did.
I'm not sure.
I did actually go out to the airport today, and they had a digital poster up for it at the luggage carousel, and it was saying, quoting someone, Lord knows who, saying a new Australian classic. I was thinking, nah, I'm never going to watch this again.
No,
there's nothing in here to bring me back. Unlike Last Train to Christmas.
Or Sunburnt Christmas as well.
Yeah, Sunburnt Christmas was a very good film. We both really enjoyed it. And I really, like you, I really love the fact that Australian broadcasters, and here I think we really mean the streamers rather than the traditional free-to-air channels, are really having a go at creating new Australian Christmas stories.
Absolutely, because we get so much American and and the snow and the winter Christmases, and we need Australian Christmases, and I applaud them doing it. I really do. I love it, but it's also got to show have a bit of Christmas spirit. I just didn't find it at all in this.
No, I thought it started okay. That first Australian Christmas before the fight.
Okay, yeah,
that felt very real, very Australian.
Yeah.
And when they passed the gravy around to put on their meal at that first Christmas after the grandmother had died, it felt almost reverential as it was passed around. It was very clearly a family tradition, and I started to have hopes for this film.
Yeah.
And then, but once it got to the whole thing about the fight, and then he goes to jail, and then you get introduced to the jail culture through a kind of a montage of a very jangly song, sung by a woman, which I thought was an interesting choice since it's all about this male culture. And for pretty much from then on, it progressively lost me because it didn't feel real. The people really didn't feel real.
No. And even there's a scene where it's like a men's
encounter group.
Yes, he goes to this one because that was the condition of him joining the kitchen was to go to this. And Hugo Weaving's character of Noel runs this with the other inmates.
And Hugo Weaving is actually very good.
He's very good. No, he's very good. But like I said, everybody is. Dan
but Hugo Weaving,
he has a weight. He has a great weight to it.
He's a very versatile actor.
He is.
So here he's got a very kind of solemn weight, and he's obviously killed someone in the past.
Yeah, that's right. He's been there for a long time.
Yeah, he can play kind of wishy-washy characters. He can play the kind of sterile, antiseptic Agent Smith from the Matrix films. Like he played the in the closet cop in The Dressmaker. Like he's a really and let's not forget also in Priscilla Queen of the Desert.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a really versatile, deeply impressive actor, and he does what he can with this. But
there's that scene, and there's a big speech he gives in that scene, and it reveals a lot about him and who he is and whatnot. But then it's just a slow tracking, panning shot just across and with behind the inmates.
Did you like the fact that all the prisoners were dressed in gravy brown?
No, I didn't even notice that.
Okay.
I didn't notice that.
I do want to say one thing for the script, though. There were a handful of lines that I actually thought were beautifully written. So early on, in a voiceover, Angus, who's the 9-year-old, at the first Christmas is saying something like, Dad says that your family is very good at pushing your buttons because they're the ones who put the buttons there in the first place. That was a good line.
A good line.
Yeah. Again, it didn't feel quite real, but I liked the line that the wife, Rita, says to her husband in jail over the phone, you need to stop crying with your fists. But that's a really good line. I don't know that someone would actually say that in real life in that situation, but it was a very well-written line.
Yeah.
And the one when Hugo Weaving does the big speech in that gym area of the prison that you didn't buy into, and I'm going to swear here, folks, so just, you might have to block your ears for a moment. And he tells off Red and he says, you're going to come to this concert, and he says, and you can bring your fucking backup dancers too.
Yeah.
I like that. It was like, there were touches. I think the writers can write in terms of writing, but not dialogue.
No, hang on. I think as writers, absolutely fine, but I think the script just needed a few more drafts.
I think you're absolutely right.
And so it's not about them, right? Of course they can write. Of course, there's lovely lines there, but I just think structurally, it just needed work on its structure.
And they needed someone to challenge it.
And rhythm, and directorially via rhythm.
Why is Dolly in the story? Dolly, who was Brenton Thwaites' character's daughter, and in fact, she was the one person I thought didn't act very well, I'm afraid, when they were in the van looking for Angus towards the end.
Yeah, I thought she was okay, but it was but it was just I just didn't know why she was being introduced there or that relationship. It was just a bit.
It needed people to say, why is this story here? Okay, it's in the song, but if you're not going to have Mary, maybe you can drop Dolly. Or give us something more meaningful to do.
That's
the
right.
uncles, maybe the uncles could do something a bit more to kind of, revisit the family history or something. It just wasn't there.
It was trying too much to do too much with too many characters and their journeys when it should have just focused on.
I think it was trying to tick the box with the lyrics.
That's right. And
it's a beloved song.
It is a beloved song, and I love the song. It's a classic. It's an iconic song. But it's a 3-minute song.
And a 2-hour movie. So what are you giving this out of 10?
I'm giving it a 4.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I was initially thinking a 5, but it felt generous. I think 4 is about right.
I was going to give it I was teetering on a 5 and whatnot, but the thing is, I think it just lacked on quite a few levels, and if I'm on the edge of nearly turning off, it's just. But I would never turn off. I never turn off a movie.
I almost never do, but here I was close.
But it did get there in the last 20 minutes, I think, and the fact that I felt a little bit in the last 20 minutes showed that some of the work that was done earlier did have some weight to it.
And I think that was what was edging me towards a 5.
Yeah,
I agree. I wrote to myself, look, it's.
Do you know what? I'm going to refrain. I will give it a 5 for that. I'm going to change my score to a 5.
Well, I will too then.
Yeah.
That was my thought. Oh, hang on, sorry.
There you go.
All right. Let's both say 5 out of 10 then.
Let's both say 5. Yeah, well, it's amazing.
Just because of the ending part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it brought it home. But it was a long journey. But I wrote to myself, look, it's all a bit nothing. It's not bad, but it's not good. It feels like it's driven by the lyrics. And at one point, about 2/3 of the way through, I just wrote down for myself, what am I missing? Because there have been some good reviews of this. I couldn't see what it was. Now, just before we get into the third film here, Ricardo,
okay.
I've got another 50 or so of these films to do for you. So you put on the cracker, go for it. Pull.
There you go. Nice
Much
one.
better.
That's better Christmas crack.
I'm learning my Foley skills here. Okay, so here's some more.
And you're learning your filmmaker.
Well, you basically served me in our last episode, so I didn't have a lot of choice. I do want to demonstrate that I listen to you occasionally. Okay, so these are more films that weren't Christmas films that have been Christmasified, shall we say?
Yes, okay,
or maybe
go for it.
Christmassacred.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Annie Deck the Hall.
Okay.
Dial M for Mary.
Nice.
Dr. Noel. The Fast and Furious Last Minute Christmas Shopping.
That's good. I like it.
A Few Good Wise Men. The Good, the Bad and the Ugly Sweater.
Oh, yeah.
Or the other one I like this one is The Good, the Bad and the Jolly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
The Lone Manger. Reindeer Man.
Okay.
Or perhaps Reindeers of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
Snow Place for Old Men.
Yeah, good one.
There's Something About Merry Christmas.
No, okay, good.
Three Amigos. And We Three Kings Speech.
Wow, that was a weird one.
Oh, yeah. I didn't say these weren't forced, but,
Well, thank you. That is wonderful. I love those. Love them.
I've still got a few saved up for the end. Stay tuned. People are turning off in droves now. I think they've both turned off now.
I'm going to go. This is very. I think we are this is the Christmas spirit of the episode. I think. I'm feeling very much like Scrooge.
We don't even
here.
have a glass.
I'm very much feeling like Scrooge.
Well, let's see what happens in the third film, shall we?
Let's do it. So the third film we're going to discuss here is obviously A Boy Called Christmas. So take it away.
All right. I'm going to declare up front that I am in two minds about this 2021 Netflix film. Ricardo chose it for us from our shortlist we had because of its pedigree British cast, including Dame Maggie Smith in her third last film, Jim Broadbent, Toby Jones, Sally Hawkins, Stephen Merchant, Joel Fry, and Christine Wiig, who's actually not British. And holding it all together is 15-year-old Henry Lawful, who is, in my opinion, stellar in the lead as a boy who was called Christmas by his dead mum, but who also goes by the name of Nicholas. Nicholas's story in long ago Finland is framed by a modern-day scenario where a family recently lost their mum and so have decided to go without Christmas this year. So the story starts with an overused Disney-esque trope of removing the parent to launch a youngster on a quest, but with the added miracle ingredient of removing two mothers at the outset. I was tempted to rephrase Oscar Wilde's famous line as, "To lose one parent may be regarded as a misfortune. To lose both looks like narrative willfulness." Or, as my wife said, with a sigh at this early point in the film, "So the mothers died then." Elderly, she nailed it. Elderly and somewhat acerbic great aunt Ruth, Maggie Smith, is brought in last minute by harried dad Joel Fry to sit with his three children while he rushes into work to get something done. Despite their pleas to get someone else in, the children are gradually drawn into Ruth's bedtime tale of Nicholas's quest to find the village of Elfhelm, to bring back hope for his king, a delightfully daffy Jim Broadbent, and his people. His other motivation is to find his missing father, Dutch actor Michael Huisman, who has preceded him on the King's Quest but hasn't returned home. This is a pedigree production throughout in terms of script, cast and visual look, including a CGI mouse voiced by Stephen Merchant and shadow play on the walls of Nicholas's home as his father retells his mother's tales of Elfhelm. I particularly liked the repeatedly clever visual transitions between the interwoven twin narratives of Nicholas's story and the storyteller's bedroom. And there were many comic lines that made me laugh out loud. Although there were some occasional slow parts for me, most notably in Nicholas's discovery of Elfhelm and its conflicts, the film quickly picked up soon after. The weak point for me was a psychotic truth pixie overplayed by American actress Zoe Colletti, although her character's importance becomes revealed as the story progresses. The troubling aspect for me is a choice made by the screenwriters about 2/3 of the way through. These are seasoned professionals behind such hits as Mamma Mia 2, the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel movies, and the recent Ghostbuster films, as well as darker films like their 2015 Poltergeist remake and the Scream TV series. Something dark happens which completely shifts it from its general feeling as a family film, something which left both my wife and I feeling very uncomfortable. My wife initially rated the film as a 6 or 7, but revised this down next morning to 3 out of 10 due to this aspect of the story. And as an early child educator, her opinion in this matter is valued by me. I would therefore not let a preteen watch this film, as I'd be concerned that they would find it traumatic. It's a pity because I was genuinely moved and entertained by this film. And I'm sorry if I come across as being a bit of a Puritan or if this puts me in Grinch territory. I don't think that Christmas films have to be fluffy or without depth. I value this film's moral of grief is the price we pay for love, and worth it 1,000,000 times over. But I think this narrative choice in a family Christmas film is misguided. Ricardo, was this an issue at all for you?
Not at all.
And being careful what we say about it.
Not at all.
Yeah. Big time.
Not at all. I didn't find that an issue with it in the slightest. I actually really liked this film from start to end. I had no issue with that. I thought it was relevant to say no preteens to watch it. They should, absolutely. I don't think they'll have any issue with it. I mean, I felt the emotion of some scenes there, but I still felt it was in line with the film, with the story, and following the journey of the character. Look, I really loved this film. I felt the Christmas spirit from the get-go. I thought it was a really interesting take on it. Beautifully filmed.
It did make you feel Christmassy.
It really
Absolutely.
did. And it's beautifully filmed. You're right. It's so gorgeously filmed and beautiful. The shadows on the wall, that scene when it is gorgeously directed. The production is wonderful. And yes,
the CGI, the mouse is really good.
Great.
Occasionally, the reindeer, it just looked...
Oh, no, I love the reindeer.
A couple of times, there was something that looked not quite right about its movement.
Yeah.
But it actually improved as the film progressed.
Yeah.
So, it was just a little thing. And I agree, except for this one thing in the story and a couple of slow points that I felt.
I didn't feel the slow points at all.
I did.
It went pretty quick for me.
No,
based on the other films.
Well, yes. You're probably just having a hysterical reaction to it because you didn't like the other two at all. Ho, ho, ho.
Well, you know what? I was feeling it, and I just enjoyed the journey and the fantastical nature of it.
The baddie was believable.
Absolutely.
I won't say who it was,
yes.
but the baddie, it's in the trailers anyway, but the baddie was believable and was a human character.
Yes.
Rather than... I'm the antagonist kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
All of that worked. It
was funny.
It was actually based on a novel by Matt Haig,
right? Who
is currently, his book, The Midnight Library, I think, is currently being filmed. And I have no idea if this particular event happens in the book. Maybe it does, but it's just that this is set up to be, including in the Netflix trailer, it's set up to be a family Christmas film. There's reindeers.
And it is though.
But there's reindeers, there's the cute speaking mouse, there's funny lines, there's all the beautiful snowy landscapes. It's got Dame Maggie Smith and all these other people. I'm always very fond, for example, of Toby Jones. Mm-hmm. And Sally Hawkins is always good. And Jim Broadbent does a great job in this. But that one thing in the story, to me, changed it from being a family film, and your son's, what, 15?
Yes.
I'm talking about younger.
Yeah, I know you are, but I still think it's
no,
not...
I would not put it in front of them. I'm sorry, I wouldn't.
I disagree because I don't want to give too much away, so I don't want to talk too much about it.
Yeah.
But I think there are moments in some films I could mention where in classic sort of animated or kids films, which are just the same as that, I could mention moments, and they are, and kids were fine with them.
At the start of the film?
Yes, like midway through, not at the start, about midway through.
You know, I'll tell you another film that did this for me as well, and it put me off the whole franchise of How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh, right, okay.
In the second or third film,
Yeah.
there is an event that happens, it's not dissimilar to this, where this thing happens, and I thought it was doubly bad, not only for the fact that I know I'm talking very obliquely here, but quite deliberately. The thing that happens was doubly bad, both in terms of what happened, but how it happened, that really would undermine a key relationship between the two main characters.
Right.
Have you seen it?
I've seen the first two. I haven't seen the third.
We'll talk about it off mic.
Yeah.
See, more tech. I'm getting into it. We'll talk about it in a non-Foley environment. But see, I'm learning badly. No, it for me, I'm going to go for broke here. It was almost like a bit of a betrayal of what I thought this film was all the way up to that point.
I think you're overlooking. I think you're over.
Well, my wife's an early child educator, so she trumps you. And I win.
Overthinking it. There's that. No, I didn't feel that at all. And I would happily show a young child this. Absolutely fine.
I will not be letting you anywhere near any young children for which I have any kind of responsibility.
Oh my goodness! No, I disagree. But
what did you think of Henry Lawful, Nicholas?
He looks great. He looks the part, and I think he did a brilliant job.
Yeah,
because I felt his journey, and he's a real find. I really like him.
I think so. Yes, and there were some funny lines too, like when the king is trying to send people off on the citizens off on the quest.
That's right.
And he's saying, "Now, I bet you're wondering what would improve all your lives," and they start saying things like a decent healthcare system and better governance of the people and so on. All he wants is this symbolic bit of hope brought back to the kingdom.
That's right.
I mean, Jim Broadbent was really good in the role.
He was great
at the beginning and the end of the film, pretty much.
Yes,
and it felt a bit Monty Python, like what have the Romans ever done for you?
Yeah.
I thought it was a bit of an echo there.
Steve Merchant's mouse, the voice of the mouse, I just loved some of just the dry humour that came off the mouse.
Yep.
In moments which were hilarious.
I'll tell you another line that I really liked. So when, if you like, the revolutionaries in Elfhelm are discovered by the Imperial Guard, whatever they were, and they come in with their spears, long-handled spears and everything else, and one old woman says to one of them, "Don't you point that thing at me."
Yes.
And he says, "Sorry, Mum."
Sorry, Mum. Yes.
It had a really lovely sense of humour.
It was clever.
Mixed in with the story of the quest and all the Christmassy stuff. And you and I are obviously going to disagree on this, but it was that one thing that really, for me, undermined the film.
I wouldn't say that would bring it to a 3 out of 10, no.
Do you think I'm going to say that? So what are you giving it out of 10?
I'm giving it, you know what, I'm going to give it an 8. For a Christmas, it's a really good Christmas film, and I felt in it. I felt the Christmas spirit.
Yes.
I loved it visually. I thought it was clever. I thought there was great script there as well. I thought it was paced very well. Really enjoyed it.
Did you like the Truth Pixie?
Yes. I didn't really. Yeah, I love the Truth Pixie. I did. Oh, I loved her. She was brilliant.
I like the idea. Again, that's where it got a bit slow when she just kept getting out these firecracker things.
No, it didn't get slow. I did not find this slow at all. I actually enjoyed it, and it went really quick for me.
All right, so you think I'm going to give this 3 out of 10, do you? What do you really think I'm going to give it?
No, I think you're probably going to give it a 5.
I need an anti-whistle.
No, 6 actually. 6.
Well,
I've gone 4, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's just. It's got to be one of them.
23.9.
Hey, what are you going to give it?
7.5.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, and I would have given it 8.5 because I do think it's a really good modern Christmas film.
Agree.
It uses traditional elements, but it is its own story. But I just really had a problem with this one particular part of the story that brought it down for me.
I think you're overthinking it.
Well, that's as may be. But while I'm thinking
Yes.
about things,
Yeah.
we haven't really drawn attention. I mentioned it briefly in the opening summary, but this is Dame Maggie Smith's third last film.
Yeah.
So this was followed by one of the Downton Abbey films, and then she finally made an Irish film, which I've seen, and it's not a bad film, called The Miracle Club. Mm-hmm. But I think this is actually a good film to look at as a rounding out of her career, if you like. And the scene right at the very beginning, where Great Aunt Ruth is arriving in the family street,
Yeah.
in the front of a double-decker bus, I think it is, and it's all very well lit on the inside. And what you actually have is Dame Maggie coming towards us, kind of sideways, in a lit environment towards us, and that gave me a warm Christmas feel as well. Like she was such a great actress.
She is an amazing actress, and I just love everything she's in. She really lights up the screen for me.
And she does the cervic well here too.
She's beautiful, and just like with the you got the grandfather character in like Princess Bride, you got Peter Falk who's the grandfather character, and there's that beautiful warmth of that. She just has such a warmth and a just a beautiful energy on screen.
Yes,
And every time, you're right, those transitions when they cut back from the fantasy to storytelling to the
they're different
real
each
world,
time.
they are. Yeah, and they're
I
beautifully
really look
done.
forward to them.
Yeah, so they're really good transitions. But usually when they cut back to those, it's like, oh, let's just get back to the actions. But I actually really liked the interactions between the kids and her as well.
And as she's telling not so happy elements to the story and saying, well, no one said this is going to have a happy ending.
Yes, yeah.
I did like that resonance and depth of the story.
Oh, and there's some beautiful lines on grief.
And that one about, grief. Because I've heard the first half of that line before, because Queen Elizabeth II said it, and I've used it on condolence cards in the past, which is, grief is the price we pay for love. But what they've added to that is, and it's worth it 1,000,000 times over, becomes an even more beautiful line.
Yeah. So and she says every line so beautifully, and but you can tell. I mean, she's just sitting down. She's not doing too much in the film, and she's just telling a story really. But she she does it so beautifully, and what a loss she is to cinema, to perform. I'm sure the stage as well, because she would have done so much on stage as well in England. Yeah, a big loss.
I think you're overthinking it.
So that concludes our 10th Christmas special of the Filmmaker Film Watcher podcast.
Well, not quite, because I've got one last cracker to go.
Really?
Yeah, so haul away.
There you go.
I'm never going to tell people what that sound effect really is. It's a cracker, folks, okay? All right, so I saved one for the very end, because I know it's a favourite film of yours.
Yes.
Virgin Birth of a Nation.
Oh, my God.
And then the others I've got here at the end are Clear and Present Manger.
Yes.
Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Sled. Natal Attraction.
You can use any of these, by the way. Just use them at Christmas dinner or Christmas lunch.
That's the intent. Lord of the Ringle Bells. Shrek the Halls.
No, we build them, Harley.
Now we have to pay royalties. Silent Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, wow.
And then the last little cluster together, picking up on the gifts of the three wise men.
Yes.
According to tradition. Bride of Frankincense.
Yes.
The Gold and the Beautiful. Well, that's really a TV series.
TV series, yeah.
For a few dollars myrrh.
Yeah.
And finally, just because we've been talking Disney, The Little Mermaid. Anyway. Merry Christmas whether this is your 10th or first Christmas with us. And if it's the first, then why have you taken so long to get here? Go back and listen to the others.
You can go listen to the others as well. I mean, it's always the Christmas spirit, and we always do great Christmas films. And
well, no, because we had some that have been not so good choices.
We have.
But as you said earlier, you and I always look for the merry, the Christmas feels in this.
That's right.
And I would say this was a bit of a mixed report card, but we've done worse.
Oh, we have. But I will say, when you said, I think you mentioned it to me, you said, oh, this is our 10th. And I said, no, surely not.
2015.
And I couldn't believe we actually did. This is our 10th. And it's just 10 years.
And which means, of course, that next year is our 10th anniversary. So
That's right. That's exactly
we'll
right.
work something out.
Yeah, that's right. So thank you for listening, everybody.
Maybe we'll just decide it's a timely end because, you obviously have no insights. Hence, barely use the whistles. And I don't understand why you didn't give me a whistle at some point.
One thing we can agree on...
Oh, go on, try.
...is that we both love the Christmas spirit.
Yes, that's true.
And we wish all of our listeners a safe and very happy New Year.
Yes.
And please have a wonderful Christmas. That's all I'm going to say.
And don't let the kids near a boy called Christmas.
And I think we can both go out on that. Yes, we should. Turn on Netflix. The kids will be fine.
And as my wife said, if you do let the little kids watch this film, therapy's expensive.
Merry Christmas!